לכל זמן ולכל חפץ תחת השמיים. והתעללתי, התלמות, התלתתי, והכל נטוע. להתעלות ולרפוא, לפרוץ ולבנות. ולבכות ולצחוק, ולצפות ולרקוד. Season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven. A time for planting, and a time for reaping, a time for keeping, and a time for discarding. A time for loving, and a time for hating, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain. A time for slaying, and a time for healing. A time to laugh, and a time to weep. A time to dance, and a time to mourn. A time for birthing, and a time for dying. A time for speech, and a time for silence. A time to seek, and a time to lose. What a precious find is an Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. Her worth is far beyond rubies. She lacks no good thing. She opens her hand to the needy, extends her hand to the poor. She is clothed with strength and splendor. She looks to the future cheerfully. Her mouth is open with wisdom, her tongue guided by kindness. Her children come forward and bless her, saying, Rabot banot asu chayil v'yat alita kulana. Many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all. Sheker ha'chein v'hevel ha'yofi, Isha yirat Adonai hi titala. Charm is deceitful and beauty vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand. Wherever people gather, her deeds will speak their praise. From the wisdom of Ben Sirach, we are all destined to die and to share it with all who ever lived, with all who ever will be. Cry for the dead, hide not your grief. Do not restrain your mourning, but remember that continuing sorrow can be worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let their memory be a source of peace. Be consoled when the soul departs. Death is better than a life of pain, eternal rest better than constant sickness. Let us not seek to understand what is too difficult for us, nor search for what is hidden, or be preoccupied with what is beyond, for we have been shown more than we can comprehend. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore are our few days in eternity. The good things in life may seem to last but a short time, yet a good reputation endures forever. You know that Stephanie's boyfriend, Andrew Jason, would like to share some words with us this afternoon.
Hello. Sorry, I just thought I have to get through this without crying. I'll do my best. I've been here for 12 years. Get it together, Andrew. You know, there's one word that describes her for me. Only one word. I mean, she's beautiful, lovely, funny, just a wonderful person in every way. But if I had to pick one word, it's competent. She was such a competent person. She did everything right. She was always on time. She planned everything. She planned this celebration. She planned this. She wanted music to be here, and she wanted me to film it. And I said, and what do you want me to do with the film? The video. And she said, well, I didn't know. She said, well, maybe put it on Facebook. She just wanted a history. She just wanted it for posterity, for her family. And there's one thing that she actually taught me. There's one thing, a few years ago, she said, if I can only make music, play my violin, and keep in touch with my children, that's all I need. I'm happy. That's my goal in life, and I'm doing it. And I realized, hey, that's pretty simple. I'm going to do that myself too. Just do a few little things that you want to do, and you should be happy. And I am happy. And in fact, I was with her the moment she died at 1:30 in the morning. She was like coughing and having a little trouble. We could hear her. Christopher, her son, was at the foot of her bed. I was at her left side, holding her hand and talking to her. And the nurse was on the other side, listening to her heart. And the nurse said, "It's happening." And we knew what that meant. And he said, "But we have to wait 3 minutes to be sure." And we waited 3 minutes. And she was dead. And you know what? There was no tears at all. There was actually joy. There was joy. Because her ordeal was over. She finally, went her way. And her, she no longer suffered. And anyway, so we were happy about that. Plenty of years later, even today, whenever I think of her, whenever I see her pictures, and how much I miss her. But right then we were so happy for her. And anyway, she, that's what we're going to say. She's just such a wonderful person. And Maribel, her close friend who's right there, she said, "Did you ever see her angry?" And I was, well, I tried to think, She doesn't get an answer. Well, when I called her a commie, she didn't like that phrase or that word, and she would cut you off on Facebook if you were political, left or right. If you were extreme, laying it out like people do, she would just block you. She was really not very political at all, but she just went along with her lefty friends. And I'm not that. And that was a major cause of our separation, you might call it. But we broke up because of that, and also because we rented a house for 9 years, and the landlady sold the house, not to us. So she decided to get her own house up here, and I could come and live with her in Palm Bay if I wanted to. And, so I went and saw the house. It was just not big enough for me. I wouldn't fit in that house very well with all my stuff. Anyway, so I said, I'm going to live in my warehouse, and I did for 1 year. But after a year, I bought a house right near her. And we never even really broke up. Even for that year, we were constantly in touch, and I would constantly come up and visit and take her to the hospital and do all kinds of things. And then when I was here, I would be taking her to chemo and everything else. So we never really broke up. I always used to say, we still live together, but not in the same house. We live in the same city, just a few miles from each other. But anyway, she did plan everything. She was such a good, competent person. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but I think I'm going to have to end it at that. I love her so much, even more so now that she's gone. I just remember so many wonderful things that she did and was. And thank you all for coming. So a lot of her musical friends, she wanted this to be musical. She wanted her friends to play music. So we're going to have a couple of tunes or a few tunes. And what can I say? Love you all. Love Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this would probably be a good moment if the musicians are ready.
Everybody get your instrument and stand over here.
I'm going
We could take some time.
Well, folks are getting ready. I'll share a few words on the tradition. There is a tradition in Judaism born out of millennia of practical experience. That there is no joy without sorrow. And there is no sorrow without joy. This afternoon we celebrate the life of a departed loved one, a celebration which is, of course, fraught with sorrow at the loss. And yet grief at the passing of a loved one is tempered, as we've heard, by so many happy memories. Stephanie Schiano, of blessed memory, departed this physical life just as the Jewish holiday of Purim was upon us. Purim, as some of you may know, is a day of unbridled joy. Joy that spills over into giddiness with costumes and carnivals, and a complete suspension of decorum during religious services. In fact, an entire month on the Jewish calendar that includes Purim, the month of Adar, is like that. Our ancient sages taught, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. When Adar arrives, we increase our joy. The holiday marks the redemption of the Jews of ancient Persia from a genocidal plot of the royal advisor Haman. And even though we make it a raucous and gleeful celebration, the story itself is actually a disturbing and even frightening one. The epilogue, after the Persian Jews are saved, is a stark reminder that a happy ending of one story is no guarantee there won't be another moment of sadness in the future.
Can I have a Kleenex?
As with the rest of the Bible, the book of Esther, which records the story of Purim, comes to teach us the realities of life. Even good people make mistakes sometimes, or deliberately behave badly once in a while. Things happen to us, both positive and negative, that are unexpected and unpredictable and beyond our control. Most of all, though, it teaches us that sometimes bad things do happen to good people. And perhaps more perplexing, good things happen to bad people. But our tradition also assures us that such apparent unfairness in life does indeed balance out in the fullness of time. We look, most of us, for a Newtonian response, that action-reaction, in which good is directly and noticeably rewarded, and bad reaps its just deserts, where we can clearly see reasons and causes. But we live in a quantum universe, where such things do play out, but over much longer time and in very subtle ways. So long and so subtle that we may not perceive them. It's not that our tradition simply dismisses tragedy and loss with the rationale that, quote-unquote, everything happens for a reason. Rather, it seeks to give us the tools and the wisdom and the insight to understand and accept that there are those things for which we will never know a reason. That can be very frustrating at times, but it can also be very liberating, because it allows us to acknowledge the reality of the moment and to move forward. Not forgetting those we have lost, but also not caught in the past. And in this very, very real way, the loved one we have lost does not exist only in the past tense. Their memory moves forward with us throughout our lives. May the soul of Stephanie Schiano, of blessed memory, Fruma Bat Abraham Zifrona Livracha, be bound up in the bond of life. Let us say together, Amen.
I remembered what I forgot. She was so positive and so joyful. And she, when she got cancer, she accepted it too. She never complained. She really never complained right to the end. And she had colon cancer, and and she would often not be able, she would often have to throw up. She couldn't digest very well. So that was a problem. So the doctors decided to put in what's called a G-tube. And she had a permanent plastic hose coming out of her stomach, right there, right on her belly. And it had a valve, and if she felt like throwing up, she would walk up to the sink and empty it. And you know what? She loved that G-tube. She was so happy to have it. And she never complained, and she was so grateful that she didn't have to throw up anymore, and she would empty it. And so that's what I wanted to say, that she was so positive, and she accepted it, and she never complained. At one point, she wrote on Mary Bridge, like, I'm not doing well, and I want to be taken to hospice and be put out like in a coma, which was her plan. Like, she planned everything. But then it turns out the hospice didn't do that. She thought they did. But it worked out okay because she was on heavy medication, morphine. She was never in pain, even like the last few days. Are you in pain? No. You know, how do you feel? Like, fantastic. So anyway, I just want, she was just such a good person. Never saw her mad except for that one time. And, anyway, we all miss her. Okay, come on up, whoever wants to play. Yeah. These are all her Denver friends. We band together. I'm one of them too. Oh, the helium pipes that you love.
Are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Aww.
How about suggestion for another tune? You were going to suggest something? I thought you said that.
Oh, no, I was asking you.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, if do something they don't know, so that's.
Yeah. Which one?
Some jigs.
Yeah, half a pie.
Jigs. Can we do a jigs?
Yeah.
Andrew, she loved half a pie.
Halfway fine.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, got a piper?
Okay.
I don't know that one, so start it.
Oh, I can't start it. wanted to learn new tunes. He's always learning new tunes. Me, no. I just want to perfect the tunes I know. So that was something I admired in her and many of us, learning new tunes. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
she loved it. Can you start it?
Kia.
Elk River Blues.
Most people play this kind of slow, but Larry Carpenter, he didn't do a lot when he wrote this. Lost his home, got it watered under, something like that. He played about 50, but it was supposed to play medium speed, that way. But she had another side to it. It was, we saw it, and it was gently down and just went.
Sure.
She's going to get it out. Whenever she was feeling, she came up with some of my jams and played along with it. But this is some of this Larry Carpenter song. He played a sad song, but he played it a little bit too. You're listening to the recording. He played one thing. Very fast, but a sad song.
What's the name of that woman that played it on YouTube? Sierra
Sierra.
Farrell. Look that up.
There's some words to it.
Yeah, there's words to it that she made up.
Yeah. Anyway, as far as the connection and stuff, I think it's, the story is, according to Jim, before the whole valley was ancestral home was, his dad being able to live there. He actually kept going down there, he couldn't afford a bed, and so we finally closed up all the roads. And he used to, give them an addition. He disassembled the house and went it up to drive, where it was going to be driven down. Still had pieces of it in his own house. So, well, 8 years later, we broke this, this place to him. In his house.
It's a bound and determined story.
What's that?
That's a bound and determined story.
It is. And that was, very definitely, certainly a good
Yeah, well, it could be that all unless you one.
I want to hear the pipes.
Yeah.
One more.
Can you do a solo on the pipe?
Try.
Stephanie played those too.
Yeah, she did. Came over the dark side. Full of surprises, wasn't she? So, close your eyes for a minute. So, this is an air called Mark Interference. And we just want you to kind of think, I don't know, and think about